Welcome back to the garage. I broke my toe on a treacherous door yesterday, but there's still a lot of work to do on this Jeep, and I want to drive it. So we're going to push forward and see what we can get done. Well, I wanted to go reinstall the starter, but me and those pesky appearances, I just couldn't put something this nasty looking back on that clean engine. But then I got to looking at this thing. It's got GPW written on it. So is this an original 6-volt starter? Has it been modified to be a 12-volt starter? I have no clue. All I know is that it did work, so I'm gonna give it a quick clean and put it back in. Feels halfway criminal to put a starter this nasty next to this freshly cleaned engine, but alright, starter's hooked back up, grounded at the block, got our negative battery terminal back in. Getting closer. Guess while I'm here, get the alternator back together. It is kind of nice that as old as this thing is, you can still get a Delco 10SI wire kit from anywhere. eBay, Summit, Napa, everyone's got them. I believe this goes to the distributor. It's just long enough, but I'm not 100%. I'm gonna put it on here, but you can bet that I'll check my wiring diagram before attempting to start this. I guess also while I'm here, I've got my temperature sensor. And this will need to be torqued down later when I do my final check. Feels like it's got a bunch of thread sealer of some kind in there. And blessedly, that leaves me with 3 things. The positive lead for the battery, the negative lead for the battery, and the e-brake cable. One of the reasons I couldn't get this thing to idle properly was because I don't think there's a spring under here. Nope, there's not. Fortunately, I bought one. I got a cotter pin. Maybe it used to be a cotter pin. Yeah. When doing a project like this, it helps buy in bulk. I went to my local hardware store probably a year and a half ago and bought all the cotter pins. This ought to do it, and it certainly won't stab me in the foot every time I press the pedal. I can do better than that. PB blaster, spun it around, knocked a bunch of rust off, put some grease in it. That ought to make it last just a little bit longer. There we go. That's actuating the way it's supposed to. Got the pedal routed through in here. Doesn't have a washer, but what do you know? I bought one of these last washer kit you'll ever need kind of things. And if we pair that with the last box of cotter pins you'll ever need, there we go. Got got the exhaust with a new gasket buttoned up. Ooh, I don't know about keeping this. It's so rusted and thin. But I think I'll just rock it till it falls off and then replace it. New oil line for the gauge, but it keeps cross-threading on the fitting, so I gotta figure that out. Tightened up some hoses. In my haste to get this installed, I forgot to actually install the transfer case levers. So I've had to undo the bolts on both sides at great destructive cost to said bolts. But at the very least, this should be able to install now. Hit the wrong button on the GoPro, but these are in. Got the shift levers on for the transfer case with the shift boot. Got that transmission ready to button up. Even got the cross member all bolted back up. And heck, even the rear drive shaft is on. Propeller shaft, whatever you want to call it. Still pressing forward, but now I've got 4 toes that are some shade of blue and purple, which is odd, but okay. Let's see where we're at. Ooh. Got the horn wired back up. I'm waiting on the wiper wiring over here. I'm trying to remember what I did here and what all this is. The brown ones were definitely the horn. These 3 went to that factory connector on the fender. So these must have been blinkers. But I get the feeling that I ran out of green, I think is what I ran out of. So I had to do both in yellow on the passenger side. And for the life of me, I just can't remember how it all went, but I'll figure that out. Dad's got the front drive shaft buttoned up, tightened up, and I've got these new speedometer cable run halfway. Next up should be the e-brake cable and the speedometer cable. This is not going as quickly or as well as I'd hoped. My foot is pretty dang unhappy. I probably shouldn't be walking on it as much as I have been. With Dad's help, levers are in. Speedometer is now set up, the cable's on. The temp gauge is good. The ammeter is already hooked up, so it's probably fine. And Dad got the oil gauge line on. I got the throttle pedal spring. We have a spare tire on order. Exhaust is hooked up. Horn is wired back in. Not bad, but I kind of wanted to be farther along. The e-brake, that's what really got me today. So there's a little chunk of metal, something like this, except it's made out of stainless steel. It's somewhere in here. I thought I left it hanging under there, but it's somewhere in here, and I don't know where. But that's pretty much all that's keeping us from having the e-brake functional and having that knocked off the list. There's still more to go. I'm adding stuff as I remember, but maybe tomorrow will be more productive. My unofficial goal is to have this thing running again, driving, stopping, and basically, insured and whatever, all the good stuff in time for election day here in the US. I just think it'd be neat to drive this thing over to my polling place, which is not all that far away, maybe a mile, and just roll up and cast my vote in that. It's a goal. Whether I'll get there or not, I don't know. I guess I'm glad that I got that full kit. That thing is bent. Wow. Yeah, this dude is bent to hell, brazed to hell, just like the other one. It's not round, it's not smooth, not suitable anymore. This one will definitely be a welcome replacement. I guess while we're here, let's not forget this little clutch return spring. Right there on the cross member. The rubber seal, which was not present previously. The new other side, which also gets its own rubber seal. I've got my freshly assembled clutch control tube with both sides loaded up with grease. There is a good video out there from the Let's Build a Willys Jeep channel that goes through the assembly of this. It's a little long-winded for my tastes, but it does do the job. Throw a generous amount of grease on this to attempt to preserve what's left. I'll load up the other side over here on the ground. This is gonna get a little bit tight, but hopefully you'll get the gist of it. Long story short, this became a heck of a lot more complicated than I thought. And a lot of it's just because the way that it is, you know. This poor Jeep has been through a lot. I think there might be some minor frame bendage, you know. But here it is, finally. Now to finally get some of this back together. The clevis pin here. Grease this sucker up. Get this cotter pin back in. Realistically, this is like too little too late, you know? But I'm gonna knock some of the rust off of this thing and try to make it slightly smoother. There we go. There's the washer. Alright, the original cotter pin did not survive, but here is a new one. Alright, now if I've done any of that correctly, this clutch pedal should probably be pretty stout. That's pretty stout. Yep, that is pretty stout. Took me a minute to get the throttle and choke cables on here correctly. Pro tip, when you're putting in your new speedometer, don't accidentally get one of those behind the bracket. It won't be long enough. Duh. But with that, choke feels like it works. You can see the accelerator moving like it should. Yeah. One step closer. Got the hood rain channel installed. I don't think this was factory. I think these were someone's aftermarket invention. If you know for sure, leave me a comment down below. Either way, I got it because it was on sale, and oh, there it is. So let's talk about some assumptions I made that have kind of bitten me in the rear end lately. Like every major supplier you go to, they sell a Fram style aftermarket canister. So I made the incorrect assumption that on a civilian one, it wouldn't have the military style, it would have like a Fram style. That's not correct. Thanks to a great thread on the CJ2A forum, I learned that there's 4 or 5 styles of canister that could have been purchased and put on these over the years. This one, after some research, appears to be the Purolator 2-ring style. You can tell by the way it is. No one has Purolator decals, but they do have Fram decals, so I bought some Fram ones thinking that's what this thing was. But again, not correct. Then we get into the whole filter element style, because maybe the retainer on this one is that Purolator style, but I don't think this canister is. Because if this was that Purolator style, it would take a Napa 1010. Which on the surface looks correct. In fact, it even looks like the old APCO filter that was in it. But when I try to put this thing on, like even if I oil this up, it won't even go over the threads. It just does not fit. But then I ordered this generic one from I don't even know where. I don't even know what brand it is. All it says is, I'll have to go cross-reference that later. A 34021. It's US made, and it at least does fit. And it would fit once I tighten that down. But then we get to the gasket situation. The Napa 1010 comes with this one, which fits nice and neatly around it, but doesn't fit. This one came with this filter, and it also goes nicely around it, but it doesn't fit it. Well, that was starting to get me frustrated, but this style actually came with 2 types of seals, and this one looks like it would almost fit. Almost. But if you try to put it on the lid, it just wobbles around. There's no way that'll seal anything. So then I had to do some digging, and I found that, thank goodness, I kept what came on here. It's rubber, it's hard, but it fits in here, and it would seal this thing. I know because it was when I got it. This thing was not spewing oil everywhere. When it was running, it worked. So I'm gonna have to use this as a template to make myself a new, probably rubber gasket to make this thing work. So long story short, do your research, even if it comes to something as simple as your oil filter canister, which was an option back in the 1940s. Optional. Wow, how times have changed. Figure out which style canister you have based on what year you've got, and then don't assume that just because it's of a certain year means that what you've got on here is what's supposed to be there. Take some measurements of the old canister, maybe cross-reference whatever part number's on it, and then try to figure out your seal situation before you even get this far. Pro tip. The emergency brake is in. And it might even work. First time since I've owned it. Didn't fill it, but the little hand transfer pump did an okay job of filling up the transfer case from the side. Maybe get something better than Harbor Freight's Finest though, because it leaks everywhere. Since I still don't have the top cover on, we'll just fill this thing from the top and get oil everywhere. It's just below the fill port, so I'm just going to hit the front of this one more time. There we go. This is the end of an era. No more do we have the Pumpkin Spice SAE 90. Now we got nice, new, clear, good stuff. Let's get the shift tower installed, hopefully for the last time. I did throw down some rust reformer on that battery tray. It was getting a little bit crusty, I guess, in some places. Here's the same battery as before, as Vice Grip Garage is fond of, with the Go handle. I did accidentally do some arc welding off the positive terminal, but hopefully that won't cause any ill effects. And like a 12-volt ninja, I just snuck in and flipped the polarities because I had them backwards for reasons. Ooh, almost forgot. Steering box is full. Next up is engine oil. Or a little bit of this for the seal. The 6-volt coil is now disconnected. The 12-volt coil, in its proper spot, is now connected. And I think I'll just leave the old 6-volt one over here with the ballast resistor, just in case that one over there failed and I need a spare. It's right there. Yeah. And slowly but surely we are slaying this to-do list. Engine oil, done. 12-volt coil, done. Oh hey, spare tire arrived. That'll get that out of the back of the Jeep. And then right back onto the back of the Jeep. Surprise, surprise. It leaks. Back into the Jeep we go. Well, let's see. Not the emergency brake. Not the transfer case. The magnetic base is fighting me. That looks like a leak, but it's not. That's actually a whole lot of that former gasket. It never really dries. It just kind of moves a little bit. Not from the front yoke. Not from the companion flange. Not from the fill plug. Well, this is confusing. But I can tell you a lot of places it's not leaking. This is just bizarre. The contrast between old and crusty and freshly painted is kind of neat, though. To quote Mark Hamill in Star Wars, what a piece of junk. Guess she's got it where it counts. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have a complete showstopper. I don't know how well that's gonna show up for you on GoPro cam, but is that what I think it is? I don't know how I could scratch the paint in that manner, but that looks very much like a crack in the transmission.